Hi, I'm Jen, and welcome to Christian Fire Poppy. Well, I just had to share this insight with you guys since this happened the day after November 21st. And you all know by now how I feel about the rainbow and how I've been watching the signs in regards to the rainbow. So when I read this, when I clicked on Fox News to read about the explosion that happened on the border between Canada and the United States in New York, and it said, because of the situation on the Rainbow Bridge, the Peace Bridge is closed. And now, everything that I've been thinking about in a symbolic way, just reading that to me felt like a significant sign in the sense that this is kind of how I view where we're at in time as far as what yesterday meant in the grand scale of things. So I will get into that in just a minute, but first let's take a close look at what happened today. So New York vehicle explosion at the Rainbow Bridge border crossing. 2 people died, and you can see there was a lot of police activity on the Rainbow Bridge between the United States and Canada following an explosion today. So first of all, this location is significant as far as symbolic events. So in my past video, all right, sorry, one of my kids interrupted. So in my previous video about 9/11, we talked about how New York is a symbolic place for all of America. And it's significant when it comes to covenant blessings and covenant curses and warning signs that are being given. So it immediately caught my attention that this was an event on a bridge in New York. But it just was very interesting to me that this happened today, and the name of the bridge was the Rainbow Bridge. I just thought, are you kidding me? And then it says, because of the situation on the Rainbow Bridge, the Peace Bridge is now closed. So in my mind, I translate that into because of the situation of America and the world and Babylon and how we are or we are not keeping our covenants, the Peace Bridge is now closed. There comes a certain point in history when the Lord's had enough, when the nation has been ripened in iniquity, and then the Lord's wrath has been pouring out. And in many videos, I've talked about words that the prophets have said, signs in the heaven, signs on the earth, that we are on the verge of these times of wrath. And so this event is just another sign to add to the litany of signs that we are watching in regards to things happening. So remember, we saw in the heavens the rainbow asteroid, or you might call it a small planet on Pentecost, that was near the beehive area, beehive in representation of the church, and then the ring of fire eclipse. It was in the forehead of the woman of Virgo. And then on November 21st, the rainbow was at the heart of the woman. So in my previous video, we talked about blessed is he that waiteth, and that was connected primarily to this rainbow covenant promise. So for the next day, there to be a Rainbow Bridge explosion and the Peace Bridge closing. Yeah, I can't symbolically, it gets my attention. So in previous videos, I talked about this idea of 3.5 years from the first trumpet would be 2020. And in Daniel 9:27, it says, and he shall confirm the covenant with many for 1 week. So there are a lot of reasons why you can think of that as 7 years. I'm not going to go in that on this video, but I view that as being 7 years. And in the midst of the week, the sacrifice, he shall cause the sacrifice and the oblation to cease. And we did see that in 2020. And for the overspreading of the abomination, he shall make it desolate. So I think we are just seeing the beginning. The abomination of desolation being set up means that it's something that will continue. The abomination of desolation is not done. It's set up. So it's just beginning, in my own opinion. It says the temple's closed and sacrifices ceased in the midst of the 7 trumpet years. So remember 2020, all these things happened the midst of these 7 years. So you can see up top how 2017 was the first year. The 7th year is 2023. So we had the 7 trumpet years. We had from September 23rd to 2017 to September 17th in 2023, being 7 years of Feast of Trumpets dates. And we have the scripture in Doctrine and Covenants in 77, and it's all about the sounding of the trumpet and the 7 days. And trumpets, one of the purposes of blowing the trumpet is a warning. So to me, it looks like a warning of coming wrath. That's just my interpretation of the signs that we're seeing. That's just my opinion. In my previous video in the Everything Culminating in 2023, I've kind of been wondering if 2020 to 2023 was spiritual cleansing and purifying, and if 2023 to 2026 will be temporal cleansing and purifying, and seeing an escalation, World War III, things like that, leading up to finally at the very end, cleansing of the host and sanctuary. And we talked about the sign of 23 and all of that, how that culminates in, now this is, I'm going to actually correct it in this video this time. It culminates on July 13th, 2026. 2006 is a typo. So if you had 2,300 days to March 26th, that lands on July 13th, 2026. And so that scripture talks about in Daniel 8:14 about until that day the sanctuary shall be cleansed. And the church did make an announcement on March 23rd in 2023 that they expect the temple to be finished during that time. So I'm just looking and identifying patterns. So 2 Hagi Shakings. We talked about this. The first one, the specific date that was given was the same Hebrew date as the October 6th and 7th attack in 2023. And there's a second scripture in 2nd Hagi that basically points to the date December 7th and 8th in 2023. So it's one of the reasons why I will be watching Hanukkah. This is also the Pearl Harbor anniversary day. And you can read this other coincidence down here at the bottom that I'm not going to say out loud. And yeah, so shaking number 2. And in the scripture, one of the things that it says in regards to this day is, it says, is the seed yet in the barn? And I will overthrow the throne of kingdoms, and I will destroy the strength of the kingdoms of the heathen. And I will overthrow the chariots and those that ride in them, and the horses, and the riders shall come down, everyone by the sword of his brother. And now, in regards to this 2nd Hagi scripture, this is something that I'm watching. I have no idea if and when anything will happen. I'm hoping nothing will happen. I hope that these are random connections that don't mean anything. I really do hope that. I will say, though, that when I went into the temple the other day, and I know many of you have done this exercise before, where you randomly open the scriptures, and sometimes it's stunning how it just opens up to that perfect verse that you need to hear is about exactly what you're thinking about. And that actually happened to me. And I wasn't really trying to do that exercise, but I did say a quick prayer that it would be a scripture that would mean something. And it just kind of fell open on my lap. And it was 2nd Hagi. So I am looking more closely at 2nd Hagi. So Haggai's 24th day of the 9th month. Hanukkah prophecy. So Hanukkah or Chanukah was celebrating the cleansing and rededication of the Second Temple. So we have the restoration of the temple on November 21st. And now we have this rainbow bridge explosion the following day, which would be an interesting connection to coming events if we were to continue seeing wrath poured out. And if yesterday was that confirming of the covenant, kind of that final rainbow confirming of the covenant, what an interesting event to kind of connect into what might be the beginning of wrath poured out. We'll see. And then just a little reminder here in the sky, we have this seed in the barn. That was just the oddest thing when I looked up the asteroids, seed and barn, that they were right next to each other, and in the eye of the big cat right here with the bear laying its paw on the big cat, and that just reminds me of war. And it looks like, just logically looking at what's happening in the world, there are just a lot of signals pointing in that direction. If we were to kind of put our finger in the air to guess which way the winds are blowing, it seems to be culminating, and maybe sooner rather than later here at the end of 2023, I guess. We will see. So I just wanted to share that with you. And like I said, it's not about any specific thing happening on any specific date. I like to look at the patterns and to watch for dates. And for me, it just helps me to set goals. So what I'm going to be doing for this upcoming date, December 7th and 8th, is hoping that nothing happens. I will be very happy if nothing happens, but I'm going to use it as a goal and motivation to get more temporally prepared. So leading up, I'm not going to do anything crazy because I don't feel like 100% something is going to happen, but I think I'll be watching and I'll be extra motivated to get a few more cans of food and to just look at my temporal preparations and just kind of light a fire under me to get a few more temporal preparations ready, because you just never know. So it's always good to be prepared. All right, well, I just wanted to share that really fast, an extra video for today. Hope you guys have a wonderful Thanksgiving and enjoy that time with your family, and have a great holiday.